Commercial Construction Coffee Talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Korsh, and I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor. Oh, my light's falling down. Of Commercial Construction Renovation magazine. Oh, this is one of our archives when we were called Retail Construction. Mr. John McCluskey, Chick-fil-A. This is from 2008. This is what it used to look like. Thanks, John, for being on the cover. You know, I was grabbing current issues. We haven't published the magazine since August of 2021. We went digital. I had White Castle on my last cover that we printed. Now we're digital, and got millions of people hitting the site. But I've been breaking out the archives, and I was going through the box. I'm like, oh, John, I got it. I'm gonna use John today on the podcast. So this is what John looked like from Chick-fil-A, and this is actually before they were just starting to go national. They were just basically a regional chain down here in the South. I'm a Yankee living in the South. I've been in Atlanta since '92. I didn't even know what Chick-fil-A was until I got here. They're like, you know what Chick-fil-A is? Now, everybody knows it, national. But anyway, John, thanks for going national. We loved it. So hope everybody had a great weekend. It's springtime here in the South. You got the thunderstorms rolling through last night, washing all the green and pollen off everything. We got the trees blooming. If you got allergies, you got to take Claritin or something, because it is just covered with yellow and green. But we like when the rain comes in because it washes everything off. But we've got the whole month of April is just covered with pollen everywhere. So exciting weekend of sports. Okay, if you're a March Madness person, hopefully you've got a couple people left in your brackets. But there's a couple Cinderella teams in there. You had the men's hockey going on. You got the Final Four in Tampa coming up on the 8th and the 9th. Good luck to all the 4 teams that won. Last Thursday, my Pios, we got knocked out of the first round by the Big Red Machine up in Cornell, but they took it on the chin the following game. So, look, the sports is like momentum. If you go into the playoffs, doesn't matter what you did in the season, as long as you made it into the tourney and you have healthy guys, maybe have a little chip on their shoulder, and no one gave them a chance, and you go in there and you can play your heart out, you can make it to the finals. And in hockey, you just need a hot goalie. And so it's exciting to see the Cinderellas in there. Even the women's basketball thing, you got the Sweet 8, and then they're going to the Final Four. There's this girl, I forget her name. She's in Iowa. She is unbelievable on the hardwoods. I mean, she's sinking shots from like half court, like it's like with her eyes closed. Unbelievable. I think she's the first woman. And this being March, Women's Month, the Construction and History Month for Women, she's the first woman ever to have 40 points and a triple-double. If those of you know what that is, that's scoring, assists, and free throws, or whatever, over 10. Anyway, it's an amazing feat that this I don't want to say girl, but she's a college student. I don't know. I think she's a junior, but anyway. Unbelievable. She doesn't look like a basketball player. She's not, she's just this thing. She's just boom, boom, boom. Everything's going swish, swish, swish. She plays for Iowa Hawkeyes. Watch this girl. She's unbelievable. So anyway, the hardwoods, everybody's in thinking that the brackets, and listen, my bracket went a long time ago. So it's just good to see all these sports going on at once. There's winners, there's losers. People have to go home. Just like my Pios, they got to, listen, they won the national championship last year. They were trying to repeat. They've repeated before, and they had a great season. But a lot of my alumni, they were on, texting, on Facebook and messaging, and just pounding on the coach, whatever. I'm like, look, it's very tough to get there. We'll go reload. I feel bad for the seniors because they would have liked to gotten a ring, but you know what? They'll reload and they'll be back again next year. And, you got to do it all over. So that's what makes sports great, and like I said, the Cinderella stories are awesome. So enjoy, the finals are coming up next weekend, and may the best team win, and hopefully they'll go down to the wire, so with that said, I've got a nice lady from my hometown of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania today. Her name is Ann Gannon, and she's the CEO of the Largo Group. And they're in, the CPA tax business. They help you, save money where you can. So Ann, say hello from Ambler, PA, right around the corner from Pottstown, where I grew up. Ann, say hello to our guests out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, I was talking to him before we got on, and my roommate from prep school, Mr. Rick Rosenstein, who I haven't seen forever. If you're out there, Rick, call me. I've talked to you in probably 30 years. Anyway, he was from Ambler, and there was this restaurant called the Blue Ox. Am I correct on that?
Yes,
And
yes.
it was like an old, stone restaurant. It was right on, the side of the road, and it's still there.
Still there.
That's the first thing I
Yes.
asked. Is the Blue Ox Inn still there? Because he lived right around the corner. So.
Yes.
Well, Ann, thanks for, listen, timing in business is everything. And obviously, April 18th is upon us. You got to
Yes.
pay Uncle Sam. Hand me your money. So the reason why I had Ann on, it's timely. If you haven't gotten your taxes done, I've already turned mine into my CPAs. I got one little extra file I got to get done here in the next couple of days. But, there's all these, listen, the rules change. There's this and that, you just want to make sure everything's correct, because the last thing you want anybody is knocking on the door, getting that letter in the mail that you dread when you see who it's from. And, Anne, being the professional that she is, when her publicist reached out to me, I was like, okay, Tommy's good. And then I kind of read her bio, and I was like, okay, she's an entrepreneur, and so that's what we're going to talk about today, is your finances, and what's coming up, and maybe there's some things that you didn't know about that you can ask your own accountant, because there's just like, you go to your doctor, he gives you a prognosis, and you're like, that doesn't sound right. You go get a second opinion, right? Well, Anne might throw something at you here, maybe a golden nugget, and you might hear something, you go back and say, hey, did you know about that? So, Anne, the way this works, and by the way, before I start, Anne is an alumni from FAU. So they
Yes.
are in the Sweet Eight, and they're the Owls, right? The FAU
Fighting
Owls, right?
owls.
It's like the Temple Owls. They're the FAU Owls, and so we're pulling for those guys, and we watched them. They beat Tennessee, and then they knocked off Kansas State. So they're on a roll. So good luck to FAU, and hopefully we'll make it into the finals. And the way it works is we're doing three parts. You can tell your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, if you play any sports, kids, dogs, horses, whatever. And then we'll talk about the last couple of years with the roller coaster, lessons learned, and things that you might want to throw out to our listeners out there, for tax reasons. And then one positive thought or phrase, and then we'll close it out. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm the founder of the Largo Group. I grew up, my first, dream in life was to be actually a professional golfer. So I grew up, played golf all through high school, played for Rutgers actually in New Jersey for the first 2 years, and then
What's your
went.
handicap?
Now it's probably like a 5. So, not as good as it once was,
Did
but
you ever
that's
play the
okay.
petty school course?
No.
Because it's right off Exit 8. That's where I went to prep school in Rutgers, down,
Oh, yeah,
New
yeah,
Jersey,
yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, Rutgers, you just played the Rutgers course, which was fine. It was
Yeah.
it was decent. But no, so I in my college I was playing competitive golf, and then I ended up back at FAU. My father passed away, so I wasn't really sure if I was going to continue with golf or not. Then by my senior year, I'd really kind of worked myself back into the mix, and I was ranked 11th in the country. And so then decided to try playing professional golf, and very quickly realized when I was out there that my dream had always been to make it into, to have the opportunity to turn pro, but I really had never thought about like what pro golf was for a life. And it really, you're kind of a nomad. It's kind of a weird existence because you're just traveling around the country and you're there for like a week and then you go on. So by the end of the first year, I was like, this just is not for me. I want to go, do other things. I had always loved business. I had always really enjoyed my major in college was economics. So I really always
I
loved
was an econ
small
major
business.
too.
There you go.
There you go.
So I just
Uh-huh.
realized there's a lot more to life. So, one of the hardest discussions I'd ever had was with my pro, to basically say like, it was great for 8 months, but I'm going to go do something else. So, but I did, and went back to school for my master's in accounting. Had one of the best life lessons that I, to this day, I'm so thankful to my accounting professor, who basically told me, accounting is a skill, right? So if you love business and you're curious, anyone can learn accounting. And going into the master's program with that mindset, I think really gave me the opportunity to succeed, because I hadn't come from an accounting background or I'd taken a few accounting classes, but nothing that really had had, set me apart, but yet just believing that, the work ethic I'd always had in golf, if I apply that to accounting, I can have the same result. So that was great. Ended up at a big firm in Boston right out of college, and quickly realized that I was not like the other accountants because my life had been so different, right? All the people who'd been doing all these internships, who just, dialed in that I'm going to be this accountant. I had no idea. Like, I was like, what? How does an accounting firm work? Like, I get we kind of do tax returns. Like, what do we do? Just because my life I had been out there. And I think what
Right.
I realized very quickly is that made me understand our client in a different way for the people who've kind of always built their life to go into this like professional service occupation. Like, I knew our client on the other end of the line. And what I realized, which was, timing wise, everything, it was 2008. And all of a sudden,
Oh God, man. Woo. Tell me.
so you're
Fannie
sitting
Mae,
here
see you
with
later
like,
mortgages. Yeah.
I mean, all of our clients were struggling, all of our, big companies, small companies, everyone was struggling. And to the accountants, it was business as usual, right? And right or wrong. They were like, well, we got to get the tax returns done. Then we got, and you're like, I mean, these tax returns are like a bloodbath, right? Like, everybody's losing money. Like, are we going to talk to them? Are we going to ask them?
Yeah.
Are they okay? Like, does anyone care? And not that they didn't care, but it's just that mindset of, well, we're here to do a tax return, so we're going to do their tax return. But to me, I knew that person, right? I knew the guy who was out there struggling. And I'm like, I feel like this could be done differently. This is not serving that guy out there, and nor is it really serving, the accounting firm, because they want to kind of live in the corporate world. And so, after a couple of years, I just decided to go out on my own, founded the Largo Group, really with the idea of blowing up the way accounting works for small business. So the way I saw that it could be done is we're involved throughout the year, we're flat fee, we have a set engagement that allows you to call me if something goes wrong or right. Like, hey, I'm going to go buy a building. Great, call me. Like, I need to know that. Like, we need to plan for this. So that way, by the time we get to the tax return, we've had those discussions, right? There's no surprise. We know where you are. You feel more comfortable asking questions, because, the other big piece is, just because you're the business owner and you don't understand everything that's happening in your accounting firm doesn't make you wrong, right? Like, accounting is a skill. If I teach you some of the accounting part, we can have better discussions rather than just trying to make it as complicated and hard as possible to justify my bill, right? That's not something that I believe in either. So that's pretty much where the Largo Group came from. We were kind of chugging along well before, 2020, always talking about cash flow, like building a great rapport with our business owners. And then, when 2020 happened, we were as affected as anybody because we're 90% restaurants or small business. So we,
Hmm.
um, really right away, I think that was the proving point to our model, because we knew on such a granular level exactly what was happening right then. Whereas the people who had a more traditional accountant, they weren't going to see 2020 until March of 21, where because our model is, now we've actually in 2020 moved it to a weekly model. Like, we see exactly how every one of our clients are doing every week. So we were able to pivot in a way that other firms just couldn't, because we had all the information. So right away, we really started to develop tools to put the ownership back into our clients' hands. Because the other big lesson of, that the last 3 years is, as a business owner, you can't be sitting back saying, oh, well, I can't do anything because my accountant has my QuickBooks file, or my accountant's doing my year end. Like, you as a business owner have to own your information. Like, you have to know your cash flow. You have to know if you're profitable. You have to know exactly what you need to do to make yourself profitable, every week and every month. And it can't be something that you're just giving up, right? Because your business is so important that you need to make the right decisions, and to make the right decisions, you have to have the right information. So, everything that we've developed in the last 3 years is with that idea that even if you hire us to do your bookkeeping, you still own this information. So if you see something that doesn't make sense, say something, right? Like, together we have to make sure that every week you have useful information that navigates your business forward, through turbulent times.
Two things. Uh, your accountant or your CPA is kind of like your attorney or your doctor, okay? Because they know everything about you. They know
Yes.
your financials, your doctor does your health, your attorney just knows your basic business, So when I always tell people, look, if you're ever going to start a business, make sure you have an attorney who has the same vision, make sure you find the right doctor that's going to stick with you, that knows your health, industry, history. So he knows about you, he knows what your body is. And then as far as your accountant, they also have to have your vision, but you've got to open up your financial history to them. And believe me, they've seen it all, people, and through, I mean, I started my business in 2001 during the dot-com burst, right after 9/11. And I went through that. Then we had the crash in '08. Construction companies got whacked. I mean, it was just, but the country was still open. Now with this last shutdown, everything got shut down. So it was like, a nightmare. How am I going to go? And then you had PPP and this and that. And then they put out the ERTC. And, now we're kind of coming out of the tunnel. And now we have the financial crisis right now because the banks were all over leveraged, and T-bills and the interest rate. And I can go on all that because I'm an economics major, but I won't. It's good to have that CPA. I've had mine. I've had my attorney for over 20 years, my CPA, my doctor. I mean, I got right when I went out, I was like, okay, which way do I want to go? Do I want to go to Beaufort, or do I want to go to Cumming? I'm going to go over the bridge, the dam every day and look at the water. And but that was the first three things I did. I got my attorney. I went through two attorneys, and then I found the third one. I found this nice little guy. He was a preppy from the Northeast, and he was just a small business group. But he's like, David, I'm going to help you build your business, and you're going to sell it down the road, and I'm going to be at the closing table. So that right there and there, I was like, that's the guy that I want. My doctor, he was in the Rotary, he was a local, he was in the ER for it, and I got referred to him, and I've been with him since. And my CPA, same thing. My attorney gave me the referral to him, and I met Randy, and I've been with him since. And they think I'm like the poster boy, up there, because I've gone through, so many dips and valleys, in construction, and all the different things that have happened. They're like, and you're still standing. I'm like, I know, man. The second thing is, you're talking about golfers being nomads. When we sold our house at the end of October of 2021, we with a big house, trophy house. We got rid of it, and we're building an empty nester house up on the lake. Anyway, we had these two golfers that came from Georgia Tech, but they were on the pro tour, and they were buying my wife's desk. And they came there, in this small little pickup. And we were talking to them. Oh, you're on the pro. What's your handicap? What number? I'm 187 or whatever.
Right.
And I said, did you guys bring any rope with you? Did you bring any blankets to put in this? And I'm like, you guys haven't moved anything, have you ever? No. So I had to I'm looking at these guys, and I'm like, they could probably swing the ball, but they don't know anything else.
No.
So I was laughing when you said that you're kind of a nomad. I'm like, these guys didn't show up prepared at all.
No.
So I gave them the rope. I helped them get it in. And I was like, okay, you're secure, but they were really good guys. And I go, I'm going to look you up. And, but they were Georgia Tech alums. And I'm sure they could hit the ball long, but,
Right.
long and straight. So,
Yeah.
but it was funny when you said that, the nomad. I'm like, oh, I've met two of them, and they were just like, they didn't know a clue except to hit the ball.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but like I said, and right now it's tax time. So, there are all these things that, that come up that you really should know about, and that's why we had on, because it was good timing. It's coming up here in a couple of weeks, and you just want to get them out of the way. But I'll tell you, being a small business guy, every morning I go onto my bank account, and I just look to see what's in there. I got to know how to operate it,
Yeah.
even though I have pretty much the same bills that come in every month, and this and that. You always have those weird things that pop up, and and it's good to know that I can just email, or I can text my CPA, or his, the guy that I deal over with there, and he'll come right back to me,
Yeah.
and so it's really nice that you can have that relationship, and you don't have to be scared about anything, because listen, some years are going to be better than others, and listen, if you're not paying tax, you're not making money,
Right.
so, that's the best thing, the more tax that you're paying, that means the more profitable your firm is. So
Yes.
it's kind of a catch-22. And getting a refund is not the greatest thing in the world, for all you youngsters out there. Okay. You don't want to get a refund. Okay.
Right.
Unless, you're a millionaire, you pay over just so, you keep Uncle Sam happy. But, the bottom line is, when you pay tax, means you're profitable. So you're in the black, not in the red. So,
Yes.
let's talk about, the last 3 years, looking back, 2020, I had just done my first event. I was in Coconut Grove, doing an outdoor shopping center tour, had my cocktail party. I was up in Milwaukee in March looking at hotels for site visits for our fall retreats. Uh, Everything is canceled. I was scheduled to go see University of Denver play Ohio State in Columbus for revenge for beating us the year before. That got canceled. Everything got canceled. I didn't know what to do with myself, so I redid my deck before timber went, to $20 for a 2x4,
Right.
and keeping myself busy. And I made the pivot. Like I hate using that word pivot. I made the transition, from print to digital. And because half my circulation was either furloughed, the offices were closed. I had to fight with my printer. They were telling me to print these magazines that were going to get thrown in the trash. I didn't even know if they were going
Yeah.
to get delivered. And so I made the transition to digital, and I haven't looked back. I don't miss the post office. I don't miss the printer. And now we're on the web, and we have so much more traffic, and you could do so much more digitally with things. And it there was, and I learned a lot about my business, just in general. I mean, I'm a completely different business than I was, pre-close down versus post-close down. And and you learn about a lot about yourself, during that time period. So how did you weather the storm, and what lessons did you learn other than, hey, I think that's going a little to the left. I gotta, right?
Right. Yeah, no, there was not a lot of golf in 2020.
Yeah.
But like you, I mean, I had been in New York because they do an annual, like the International Food Show is always, first, second week of March. So I had been in, in New York, and it was like March 10th, and then had gone out I have a client on the West Coast. So I'd gone out, we were just going to do, kind of our annual visit. So I was in Seattle on like March 14th. And then all of a sudden you're kind of looking around like, okay, like things are getting really weird, really fast. So I actually came home, and then my mom is in Florida, so I have two little kids. I have they're now 9 and 11, but at the time they were what, like 7 and 9. And so my mom's a retired teacher, and I'm like, this is going to get really bad really fast, especially for our business, because again, we're involved every week. So it's like every single person needs a phone call. Every single person is going to need to talk about what's going on. And, and there's just only so many hours in the day. So I flew to Florida, and I think it was like March 16th. And I remember my husband was like, "You're not going to come back for a while." And I'm like, "No, it'll just be a couple weeks. It'll be fine." And he's like, okay. But he understood because, again, like he was working. So it was,
Did you take the
so
kids with you?
I did. So it was the three
Yeah.
of us. So we were at my mom's for like 8 weeks in Florida, and just kind of nomads, right? Like we're just like staying at grandma's, and my kids are like, "Are we gonna go home?" Like, I don't think we want to go home at
Grandma's
this
going to teach
point.
you.
We're fine. So
Grandma's teaching you.
yeah, so she basically did the school, and then I just worked. And really it was an incredible time. My dad had been an entrepreneur. He died early, and his business had failed when I was in middle school, and it was one of those things that I hadn't thought a lot about until that time. But to be sitting there with, pretty much 90% of my clients had a failing business overnight, it just resonated with me. It just so much fight of like, we are not going to let this be the end of you guys. Like, I know what's on the other side. And it made me very frustrated because there were a lot of consultants out there that were like, "Oh, just close or just look away. Like, it's not worth the rent," especially with the hospitality industry. And to me, I'm like, I know what that looks like. These are people's lives. Like they've put their life savings. This is the biggest asset they have. And whatever this is temporary, right? Like, it's not fun right now, but whatever it is not like forever, right? People are still going to go out to eat eventually. And just to say close to me was so short-sighted. And so right away, I really tried to do as much as we could, webinars, like free events. We, still to this day offer 30-minute consultation to anyone who just wants to jump on a call and talk about their business. Because to me, the biggest thing was, you're going to get through it, right? Like you have a good business. You fundamentally can figure this out if we all, put our thoughts together. And so, to me, I think the biggest lesson was, I think there were a lot of business owners who just didn't know where they were. I mean, 2019 was great. Like those were great times, especially in hospitality, and things were just chugging along. No one cared about cash flow. Like I would try in 2019 to do like cash flow seminars at the food shows, and nobody would come. It was like, well, yeah, it's fine. Like I'll just get a loan. Like I'm fine. Like I'm growing. Everything was about revenue. Like, I want to be a $10 million. I want to be a $15 million. Like no one cared about the bottom line. It truly didn't matter. And all of a sudden overnight, like the revenue's just gone. I mean, in hospitality, especially, I mean, you literally have zero coming in. And people forget, but PPP was 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And I remember we did a free webinar for like the first 7 weeks of COVID. And in week 3, we had less people sign in than week 2. And the gentleman I was doing the webinar with, he's like, it's because most small businesses only have 2 weeks of cash flow. Like they're done. And they still had to go another 3 weeks before the government money actually hit their bank account. So it was a crazy time. And to me, I think any small business owner who made it through the last 3 years, like you have done such an amazing thing, because those were not easy decisions. Like you had to just see things, see it working out, like just visualize, moving in a totally different direction than you ever thought you needed to. And just, I think as we look back, you should really, pat yourself on the back or just appreciate what you did, because anyone who's sitting here today, really made it through a remarkable time.
PPP saved a lot of companies, but it was the worst rollout ever. A lot of the big businesses got the money. The small businesses, just got the shaft, in my opinion. And the banks didn't know what they were doing. And there was, I would talk to people, hey, did you get the PPP? Did you get, oh no, I did it, but they said it didn't qualify. I'm like, go find
Yeah.
someone else to get it done. And um, that, it was a saving grace, but there was a lot of corruption, and just some of the companies that shouldn't have qualified, and a lot of that money didn't go to the people that really needed it. And that was my kind of my, someone needs their butt kicked on that, because
Yeah.
it was a valid program, but it was rolled out so terribly, and the banks weren't prepared about it. And I remember my bank, they had turned me down. And so I found someone on Alignable. She was a accountant, CPA, whatever, specialist. So she got me my loan, and then my bank called me back, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we want to get." I'm like, "What do you do there? Are you like the custodial person?" Because she goes, "It doesn't matter. It's all hands on deck. We're just here to
Uh,
get everybody on your money." And I was like, "Okay," but because customers were getting really ticked that they weren't,
yeah.
because if you weren't a big company, you were a second class citizen. You know.
Well, and I think I mean, that I think was one of the first lessons of COVID, is there were a lot of people that had moved to, online banking was new, business banking was, sort of something that was so easy in the late, 18, 19, that a lot of, our clients that struggled to get PPP was because they didn't have a relationship with their banker. Like they didn't know the person at the branch, where the other ones who kind of knew, oh, it's Joe, and Joe has worked with me for 20 years. Like they were fine because Joe knew, like, oh, this business in the town is going to need it. It's a restaurant, or, whatever it is. Whereas the other ones, like, you couldn't get Bank of
Yeah, you,
America,
you,
whoever
you were a
else.
computer number with the big banks.
Oh, and it wasn't their fault, but it was like, even if there's a branch down the road, they don't know you. Like they don't know that you're their client. If you are their client, like they don't know. And so it wasn't even the banks doing anything wrong. It was like the way they were set up, because you could be in that town with a branch and you weren't even in that branch's system. Like it was just such a mess.
Oh
So
yeah.
but I think when you look back at it, I think it was just one of those things where the owners, again, you never thought this could happen. So you never thought, hey, maybe I should have a relationship with someone at the bank or line of credit. I think the other thing from cash flow is you never thought, like, I'm going to go, especially with hospitality, I'm going to go without sales for 5 weeks or whatever it was. So, you never had a number of what should I have in cash reserves, right? Like, should I have 2 payrolls in cash reserves or 3 payrolls in cash? Like, no one really thought about it because cash was so easy to get before COVID. So, again, I think as as much as the programs weren't, and they were what they were, the big lesson to business owners is, you need to know the cash you need for the next 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Like, what's the worst case scenario, and how do you make sure that you're, protected?
You talk about hospitality. A lot of the guys that had their hotels shut down or their restaurants, the smart ones, they renovated, they put new carpet in, they upgraded their facilities. You didn't know what was going on, so when the country did open up, they were ready to offer their new services. And but what the shame was is that if you didn't have a drive-through and you were a restaurant, it was very tough. Like craft brewery guys, they went into sanitizing, from making
I
brew.
know.
A lot of it, we were in construction, so a lot of our a lot of my clients, they were considered essential. So it also depended on what states you were in. Depending on what the lockdown here in Georgia, we were open. So contractors, they just we had 3 construction projects went right on. They had to implement the safety measures and so forth. But being construction, a lot of the guys that I knew, man, they were putting their masks on, getting on planes, and they had to go and go do their stuff. And um, it depended on what sector that you were in, but the restaurateurs, they took it on the chin. And depending on what state you were in, and so many businesses are not there that were there that were very profitable. But even if I think they even if they had a cash reserve, because they were closed down so long, it can only go so far. And
Yeah.
you got to make a decision when you're going to like pull the plug or not. And that was the sad thing, that uh, I had a guy on my podcast, and he had a couple of restaurants out in California, and he had to shut one down, and the other one was kind of they were trying to do delivery and kind of figure things out. And I could just hear it in his voice that his one restaurant was like his pride and joy, and the other one was just a nice revenue stream. But the other one was highline, and it just wasn't happening, in the state. And there it went by the wayside. And you can multiply that by millions,
Yeah.
million. And listen, small business in this country drives this country. It's not the big businesses, it's the small businesses.
Yeah.
That's what pay the taxes, believe it or not, in this country. So I'm a small business guy. And multiply me by, there's
Yeah.
350 million people in this country. Only about half of them pay tax. So when you look at it, 50% of them are small businesses that are driving the machine, basically, or keeping gas in the tank. So what cool programs are out there, that maybe some of our clients out there that are listening, that maybe their accountants aren't aware of, that they should be before April 18th comes around, the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think for this year especially, I think especially if you're in construction, it's important to look at the depreciation rules, what changed, because assuming no rules are changed between now and the end of the year, the bonus depreciation goes away. It's down to 80% from 100%. So I think it's important when you're planning, if you had projects that were done in 22, because some CPAs default to not taking bonus or whatever it is. But I think really being involved in that decision, because, the rules have changed. So this is sort of the last time to get the 100%. It goes to 80 this year, 60 next year, and then, phases out from there. So I think it's important that you're asking that question, because a lot of times on the accountant side, they're just not always thinking in what you are thinking about. And I think especially in construction too, the other thing is, what's coming next, right? So if you did a big hotel project or whatever it is, but there's another one in 24, another one in 25, like, I think sharing that with your accountant, don't assume that they know or that they're even thinking ahead, because in the tax world, they're always looking backwards, and that's fine. That's what taxes are supposed to do, but what's coming forward. So I think blending the two is really where you can eliminate a lot of the frustration. Because what I see, the biggest cause of frustration is, obviously you're going to owe taxes if it was a good year, but as that person, that tax return is from minimum 4 or 5 months ago, if not longer, if you're on extension. So things could have changed, right? Your cash picture could have changed. You could be in a new project that's, draining reserves. So having those cash flow discussions, I think, are really important, so that your CPA is aware of, like, hey, I'm in a big project right now. I want to take the bonus because I don't I would rather accelerate it so I'm not paying in, where they might be thinking they're saving you in taxes in 3 years. Well, if you're in a big project, you don't really care about 3 years. Like, you need to get done now. So again, the more they know, they can help you. But if they don't know, you can't get mad at them for, planning out 3 years of tax savings.
Yeah, yeah. And if you haven't if you haven't done the ERTC, there's still a little money left, but not much. You still have time to get that done. If you don't know
I
what that is,
know.
it's the Employee Retention Tax Credit. You get
Yes.
$26,000 for any W-2 employees. So if you haven't done that, call Ann, she'll tell you about it. I've tried to tell you about it in my PSA announcements, but I'm telling you, I've helped a bunch of people out, and
Yeah.
that money is unbelievable depending on how many employees you have, and it's the first time you have to deal with the IRS to get it, but still there's still money left in that account, but it's coming to the end. I don't know if they're going to renew that program or not. I know there's a grant program coming into play here that we're going to promote in the magazine next month, with research and so forth, but that ERTC thing was an unbelievable thing, and hopefully everybody out there, a majority of you, took advantage of it. And that program changed. I did it right in the beginning, before my accountant, they're on top of their stuff. My CPA, I'm not bragging about them. I'm just saying they took care of it right when it came out, but then they made it where I took it as a tax credit, against my revenue. But now you could actually get, a check from the
Check.
government,
Yeah.
and you can spend it on anything you want, and so it kind of had changed. So if you weren't on top of that, the accountant said, "Oh, no, this is why you always want to get a second opinion, on any of this kind of stuff. If something doesn't sound right, go ask someone else. Not that you're insulting your guy you've been with a while. It's just, hey, I'm just asking for a second opinion. So anyway, that's my PSA today. If you haven't done the RTC, you can still do it. So, but there's not much money left. It's going out. It's going to be empty here soon. So maybe
Yeah.
Congress will revote on it. So, um, uh, if you had to leave one positive thought or phrase before you leave your contact info, what would it be to our listeners out there in commercial construction coffee talk as Uncle Sam comes out and giving the money on April 18th?
No, like I said, I think the biggest thing is realizing that accounting is a skill. Like, as business owners, 95% of business owners hate accounting and they don't want to deal with it. But I think if you looked at it as a skill that anyone can learn, I mean, I think that's the biggest lesson, that you as the owner have to at least know as much as your accountant, if not a little more, in order to be successful. And it's well within your grasp to do it. But that's, really, I think the biggest lesson is take back control, take back the ownership, because it will make you a better business owner.
Hey, QuickBooks, listen, I do my own accounting. I send them the file. It's clean. I have everything keyed. I had to learn how to do it myself. And I just want to keep my eyes on the books, and, as the captain of the ship. So not that I don't trust anybody else, but, it's just, that's just the way that, every day, like I said, I go online to see what it is. That way I know how much money's in the bank, what's out there, what receivables I have to go collect. And, QuickBooks is a big checkbook. That's all it really is. It's just software. It makes it easy. And once you get it set up, it's so much easier to, and the best thing is when you're adding new clients, that means you're making more sales.
Exactly.
So you can kind of judge your QuickBooks. If you're not putting any new clients in, you better get your Salesforce, because that just, you can just see it right in plain as day. So,
Yeah.
I'm totally with you. So, if someone wanted to have any questions, or they wanted to bounce some, hey, I got this from my guy, how would they reach out to you?
Yeah, so check out our website, thelargogroup.com. Like I said, we offer a free 30-minute consultation. We're doing budgeting right now. So anyone who wants a budget, we will actually spend 30 minutes to get you started on that. So just something that, we really believe in, giving back our time to small business.
Okay, so there you go, the Largo Group. Check them out. They're on the web outside of Philly and Ambla. If anybody wants to reach me, you can get me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. Loved it. Listen, send me anything. charity golf tournaments, personnel announcements, new projects. I've got my 6th annual Project Profile Awards coming up. I extended the deadline till March 31st, this Friday. So you'll see this podcast. It'll be on the e-blast probably tomorrow or Wednesday. So if you see the form on there and you haven't given me a project, it's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me a project to judge over the weekend while I'm watching the hardwoods, or I think DU plays Villanova, the bottom line is send it to me. It's real easy. Tell me who the architect, the contractor, the engineer was on the project, about a paragraph on it, and a JPEG. And you'll be in the judging pile. So, and it can be in anything. I just had a lady, I sent her the form over the weekend. She came like, you don't have industrial on your categories. I'm like, send it to me. We'll make one for you. So as long as it's a cool building, we'll look at it. So, but look, getting in the magazine is very tough. So this is your one really opportunity where you can get, one of your projects in, and we make it a really nice section in the magazine. And then listen, when we get a press release, I'll find, it's on Twitter, Facebook, on the magazine, and I'll come back to you too. And if I do post it, I'll send you the link and you can share it. It's a win-win. So, we'd love to hear from you, and we're a news conduit. So, by all means, look, I'm media, send it to me, I'll get it out there. So, we want to help you. So Anne, pleasure meeting, Philly, brotherly love, all that stuff, go FAU Owls, on the hard court, you have to get one of the championship shirts, if,
Right.
I'm sure, being a golf alum, they probably take care of you guys down there,
Probably not, but you never know.
But listen, when D won the national champion last year, they put out the thing and hey, get this and that, so that they're looking for that,
Yes.
everybody to wear the swag.
Oh
And
yeah.
but if I come up to Philly, I'll maybe I'll bring my sticks and we'll play 18.
Definitely. Yes.
I lived on a golf course for years, and I grew up on a golf course in Pottstown, Brookside Country Clubs, where I used to play. And I hit tons of balls. And then I lived on the golf course and I didn't really play. I was doing my kid with lacrosse and taekwondo and all that stuff. And but I was thinking when I moved, I got rid of my golf bag and this and that, my graphites, and all that stuff. And I was like, man, I shouldn't have done that, and I was like, but everybody down here plays golf, and I'm just like, I don't know, but it's I think I'm getting the itch back where I'm I only broke 80 once.
Ooh.
And and the thing was, I wasn't keeping score, and I
Oh
actually
no.
I didn't take any mulligans, I didn't move any of my balls, and so we finished 18, and the guy goes, "Hey, David, you got 79." I'm like, "No way, count that over again." So we counted 79, and I said, "Look, I want you to sign my card." I'm like, "I am so glad you didn't tell me on the 16th
Right.
where I was, because I would have shanked it in the freaking river,
I know.
So thank you so much for not telling me anything. I was just playing along with these good, and it was amazing
Yeah.
because they were all like scratch golfers. So I'm just hanging with them.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
missed a couple putts here and there, and that's what golf is. You miss a couple shots here and there, and that's, but I never broken 80 truly in my life, and
Yeah.
I still have that card. But if they would have told me, I would have choked.
Oh yeah.
I would
No,
have
you
choked.
can't know.
No. Yeah, that's the pressure in golf. I don't know how those guys deal with it. I'm
Ugh,
2 feet away. I can make this putt, and they run it along the
I
rim.
know. It's
You
so
know,
hard.
it's but the thing is, Tiger Woods, he'll go out and play a tournament, or any of those guys, and they'll go hit 5,000 more balls.
Right.
That's how
Right.
they got to be where they are. So
Exactly.
practice, you will play as you practice, and
Yes.
practice is perfection. And the same goes with CPA or your own business. You practice what what your profession is, and the more
Exactly.
the better you are at it. So
Yeah.
whether it's CPA or construction or engineering or
Yeah.
creating apps, it's the same gig. And I always love talking to athletes, because you've made, golf's not the most brutal thing, except maybe having
Not
to hit a
really.
golf ball with some alligators by you,
Right.
but but the bottom line is you made the transition from the battlefield,
Hmm.
on the golf links, to the business world.
Yeah.
So I always like having athletes on there, because they have a different kind of mentality, because you understand winning and losing,
Yeah.
And you understand that, hey, it's still a team effort. You got the caddy, you got other people involved that got you there. So
Yeah.
it was a pleasure having you on here.
Yes.
Love
No,
having
this
an
was great.
Ambler person on here. And I still say water,
Oh, there you go.
because I'm from Philly, and what was it? Birch beer. That was my favorite thing when I was growing
Yeah.
up, so
Yeah.
anyway, listen, good luck to FAU. Say goodbye from Ambler.
Yes. Thank you so much. This was a great time. I really enjoyed it.
And go Owls. And
Yes.
I'm going to say goodbye from just below the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier in Sugar Hill, Georgia, about 30 miles just north of the ATL. And everybody, it's Friday today, TGIF. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the hardwoods. Enjoy everything. Recharge your battery. Positive mindset. If you're out there on a construction site, be safe. Drink lots of water because it's going to start getting hot out there soon. And we will see you all next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. And Ann, I look forward to hitting the links with you. All right.
Definitely.
4. All right. We'll talk to you later. See ya.